Welcome back guys to my channel, this time with something completely different. We're going to be looking at ancient games that I've been playing for 10-20 years. And the first one is going to be the Settlers 4. We're going to be skipping Settlers 1, 2 and 3. I don't think they're particularly interesting games to look at. However, we're going to look at Settlers 5 and Settlers 7. Settlers 4 is basically my standard go-to game when it comes to strategy games. So we're going to fight against the evil boss Morbus and his dark armies. And that's him, he doesn't really like green, he likes black and dark and ugly. Anyway, we're going to be playing the Romans, we're going to conquer the Mayan settlement in the west. That's us here on the right to the east. And there's a small path leading toward the Mayans, and that's the tip that they give us. Build 12 water-filled eye catchers near the lake. This is what Settlers 4 looks like, so it's quite pixelated. That's because it's a really old game. But it's still a fun game to play, and that's the most important bit. I think the new games with all their graphics and so on, they're often not as fun as the old games with pixelated stuff and so on. Anyway, the first steps in Settlers 4 is always to build your economy. We're going to build some woodcutters, we're going to be building some foresters, and we're going to tell them where to plant their trees. Oh, where's the other one? There we go. We're going to build a sawmill. There we go. Going to build a second stonemason, or what's he called? Stone cutter. There we go. Going to build some towers to expand. There we go. We're going to destroy all the other towers that we don't need. And then we wait. And in the meantime, I'm just really quickly going to tell you something about the economy aspect of this game. So basically you have logs that in the sawmill get sawn down into planks. And you need planks and you need stone to produce every type of house. Once you've done that, you're going to need a residence, and there's some debate over whether to build small, medium or large residences, but I just build the large ones. And they're going to produce 50 settlers, as you can see in the bottom right corner. And why do we need settlers? Because we need carriers. We need free settlers as well. Free settlers occupy the jobs, and carriers carry your stuff around. So we're going to increase the number of carriers, and they're going to transport our stuff around. And you also have diggers and you have builders, and they're basically responsible for building, the buildings. You also have specialists. You have gardeners. They're responsible for turning this black land into beautiful land. And you can already hear the change in music, I hope. We have geologists, they're going prospecting to see if there's any resources we can use. We have thieves, they can thieve resources off of other nations. And we have pioneers, and they're just here to expand your borders. And there's also a last one, they use pike axes, I'm not really sure what they're called, but they're used to destroy enemy towers. Yep. Anyway, let's go back to the resources. So once you have the resources, you want to build a grain farm to produce grain. You want to build a mill to crush the grain into flour. And you want to have a baker who's going to combine flour and water and heat to produce bread. You have the second type of farm, which uses grain and water to produce sheep, and the sheep get slaughtered into meat. And you have fishermen's huts that use fishing rods here to produce fish. You use these three types of food to give them to your mines, and they produce coal, iron ore, and gold ore, and also sulfur, but I'm going to skip over sulfur. But basically those three, and you can combine coal and iron ore into iron, coal and gold ore into gold ingots, and coal and iron ore into all your different tools that you need to occupy the buildings, and into swords, bows, and armor. And in the barracks, you use gold and these three here to produce warriors. And I'm going to talk about warriors in a second, but I'm just going to finish with the different stuff you have. So you have these here. Basically, they're used to build ships. Well, not to build ships, but to equip your ships. And then the ships can fight other ships, and the ships can fight towers. In my opinion, they're not really worth it. If you want to build them, that's fine, but I'm not going to do that. And the last thing is wine. So you have vineyards, they produce wine, and wine is used in small temples to produce mana. And mana is used for spells. So you have magicians, they're built in large temples, and they can do spells. And every race has different spells, and every race has different alcohol types. For example, there are 4 races. You have the Romans, they produce wine. You have the Mayans, they produce tequila. You have the Vikings, they produce mead. And then you have the sissies, the Trojans, and they produce sunflower oil or something really weird. Anyway, they don't drink alcohol. Neither do I, by the way, but that's besides the point. Anyway, every nation also has different types of warriors. Everybody has bowmen and swordsmen, and they have level 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, level 3 being the strongest. They're the gold guys here. They need a lot of gold to be produced. And the Romans have medics, level 1, 2, and 3. And medics can heal your guys. The Vikings have berserkers. They destroy enemy buildings and they're really, really strong. The Trojans have catapult people, and they basically shoot. And the Mayans have blowgun warriors. Blowgun warriors stun enemy warriors. And anyway, this is what my land looks like after I've been building for quite some time. Let's see if I can... No, not screenshot. Where's the... No. Ah, there we go. So this one I've been playing for over nearly 3.5 hours, and this is what my economy looks like. So I've got a lot of mines. I've also got stone mines. They produce stone because the Mayans need a lot of stone, whereas the Vikings need a lot of wood. I've got a lot of grain farms and bakeries and so on. I've got a lot of eye catchers. They increase my offensive strength and my defensive strength, which basically means my warriors are stronger. I've got my defensive position set up here. So I've got castles, I've got large towers. I don't have any small towers, I don't really like them. And they're defended here by a couple of blowgun warriors, by a couple of bowmen here and here. I've got a lot of smiths and so on, and they produce all the resources needed for my warriors. Speaking of warriors, I'm just quickly going to send them here, because I've got an enemy force of Romans arriving from the east. I've got my large temple, I've got my small temples, I've got different storage areas that produce, all my stuff, where I can store all my stuff. I've got large residences, I've got my area for producing wood, I've got my area for producing mana. Got some water workers down here. There we go. Now I'm just quickly going to crush them. In the meantime, while that's going on, there we go. That's a priest. I'm going to show you something. There we go. We're going to watch the battle. All the blue guys flying away is the enemy dying. All the red guys flying away is me dying. As you can see, my level 3 guys are in huge numbers, and I can easily wipe out their level 1 guys. And there we go, we've got injured people, and I can click on that and it gives me the most injured people. There we go, 1 injured guy, and we're going to be sending him here. That's a healer's quarter. Is he moving down there? Yeah, there we go. So, just going to trace his path. And that's one of the things I don't really like about Settlers 4 is I've got all these different kinds of, well, I've got a lot of injured people here. But, for example, this guy here, he's obviously injured, right? He's taken some life away. But if I click on that button, he doesn't show up. So it only gives me the people who are really, really injured. So for example, here's a really injured guy. He's really red. And we're going to have a healer come out in a second. There we go. You can't see him, but wait, he's turned green. So that worked. Beautiful. Really quickly, let's move to the priest. So we've got the priest, we've got 88 mana, so we can produce each, some of them we can produce 7 times, some of the spells we can produce only 1 time, and we're going to look at our squad here. We've got a lot of level 1 guys, a few level 2 guys, a few level 3 guys, and we're going to promote them. Way! And you can see we've got a lot of level 2 guys now and 1 level 3 guy more. So that's one way to promote them. These are the special spell sets of the Mayans. Or you can directly go to your barracks and produce only level 3 guys, and that's what I'm doing right here. Yeah, and that's it basically. You take your warriors and you destroy the enemy, well, you occupy the enemy buildings, which means you take land away from the enemy, you take resources away from the enemy, and you cripple their ability to fight you. And that's what this game is all about, crippling the enemy's ability to fight you, destroying them, and then you win. And there are also some missions, but sometimes the missions work and sometimes they don't. For example, my mission was to produce a lot of 150 offensive strength, 125 defensive strength, so I've ticked that, and also to destroy 700 enemy soldiers. However, if you lose too many soldiers, you have to destroy more enemy soldiers. And I've killed 1,386 enemy soldiers, and they've killed slightly more than 300. And I've calculated it, and it should work out in my... Well, it should work out that I've completed the mission, but for some reason, I haven't. So that's sometimes quite buggy. And the other thing that's quite buggy is the multiplayer setting. First of all, there are not a lot of good multiplayer maps. And second, even if there are good multiplayer maps, there is a sort of desynchronization error, which happens every so often, and they haven't yet fixed it. However, there's been an update of 5 megabytes, so maybe they fixed it and maybe they haven't. I have no idea. Anyway, that's the Settlers 4 in a nutshell. Why do I like it? Because I like the industry aspect. You have to build up, even though it's always the same, but that's true for every game. I like that you can have big battles. That's what I really like. I like big battles. Fighty, punchy, scratchy. That's my motto. And I like that you can control basically every single one of your warriors. Yeah, I think that's everything I need to say about this game. Basically, I really love it. I've played it for, well, since it came out. I'm still playing it every now and then with friends. But there are some aspects I don't like. Like I said, multiplayer maps, not so good. Multiplayer settings, not so good. Anyway, there's going to be a Settlers 2019. I'm not even sure what it's called. And I really hope that they take some aspects of this game and put it into the new Settlers 2019. And that they fix the multiplayer issues, because I really enjoy cooperative multiplaying. So me and 2 friends against 5, 6, 7 AI players. That's what I love. And I really dislike playing against other human players. Not because I'm shit, yeah, I know I'm shit, haha, but because it doesn't really suit my style of play. As you can see, I like building up, I like producing huge armies and huge cities, and that doesn't fit with the meta of building a lot of stuff really quickly and then zerg rushing. Anyway. So yeah, I hope you do enjoy these little reviews of old games. I'm going to be doing a couple of them in the future, and I hope to see you on the next one, which is going to be Settlers 5. See you guys.